I remember when I first started in the industry, I remember there was a thread on like Facebook somewhere where somebody's talking about, no, all you have to do is give great quality work and then people will come. It's like, what
No.
planet are you on? Like McDonald's has a line around the corner. They're not doing it because they got great quality work.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Because everybody knows what to expect. It's a different experience. They know what they're going
Mhm,
to get there. All right, so I
mhm.
got to ask then, let's talk about some of the examples that you have around something you saw in the world, the normal world that you're like, yeah, we're not doing that. And what have you done to make it different? Give me a couple of examples.
So
You,
many things.
yeah. Do you want to do it or you want to?
Sure. Well, let's just talk about office design. Like
Yeah.
whenever you go into a practice, like I find it a little bit soul sucking usually. Like it's just sad and they're
Oh, you're
quiet.
talking about that's crazy.
Like, beige and just uninspiring
Rented
and
furniture.
slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just boring. Yeah. Boring furniture. There's just no personality. You have no, like, you could swap out every person and everything
Yes.
in that office and it wouldn't have no bearing on your experience there.
Agree.
Um, so we just wanted like with the design, like we wanted them to walk in and be like, oh, it's kind of pleasant in here. This brightens my day. So, when you check in, that feels good. When you're in the waiting room, that feels good. We put in practices in place so that you wouldn't have to be in the waiting room for long, so that you would never have to wait. Because I personally hated the
Yeah.
experience of feeling like my time is not as valuable as the doctor's time when everyone's time is valuable. So like we wanted to eliminate that. We eliminated paper
Paper.
forms.
Yeah.
Yeah, nearly all paperwork.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you been handed a clipboard with the same piece of paper on? I mean, I don't care what your third favorite hobby is. We'll get there on the fourth or fifth appointment, but I don't need that on paper to straighten your
Yep.
teeth. So,
Yeah.
so we don't have paperwork. Like Liz said, no waiting. I spend a lot of time working with my team to develop mini orthodontists that can do a lot without me. So
Love this.
they don't have to come in, when we're delivering a new set of aligners and all you have to do is give it to them. We have curbside pickups and we had that before COVID. They don't need my permission to do very obvious things, because if I'm the patient, I don't want to sit there and wait for me 10 minutes in an exam and then come over and say, yep, looks good. I mean, we put ourselves in the guest's shoes every time they walk in the door.
Yeah, and guest actually is such a good, important word to use. We were inspired by some, not medical practices, but some places that we had frequented, like a hair salon, for example, where their philosophy was like, we're gonna make your day. Like just by being here, we're gonna find some way to stand out. And that was kind of, again, something that we've taken to heart too. Like no matter what we do, it needs to do more than just that one function. Like how is it going to make you smile? Are you going to remember it? What are you going to say about it? How does this show up in other places in your lives?
Yeah.
And by thinking about it as a bigger picture, you can just get so much more out of it than like, hey, check in at the front desk. But like, well, what else? How else does that experience feel for you?
No, I love that. I'm a huge fan of that. I love that you even changed names. You guys know I love the change names of it's not the front desk, it's the director of first impressions or whatever, right? They're the
Sure.
guest for you. They're not your patients. And I've always thought even general patients just makes me feel like I'm coming in there to get healthy or fixed or whatever and then spit back
Mhm.
out again.
Yeah.
They're my clients. These are my guests. These are the people
Yeah.
who I want to cultivate a relationship with. But I gotta say, it's like one of those things that seem obvious if you want to be an entrepreneur. But if the only thing in your building, if you were to sell your building and all they had to do is change the name on the door,
Right.
it's a
Yeah.
problem, right? Because it's
Mhm.
not about you. It's not branded to you. It's not unique and different. I often say your job is to ruin your guests in your practice in a good way. So that
Yeah.
when they go to
Yeah.
their optometrist and they go to their chiropractor and they're handed a sheet of paper like, oh,
What?
so
true.
glad I don't have to do this over there, right? And they
Yeah.
think of you as the bar that
Yeah.
is set. And I think of more and more, I think we need to understand this as for you listening, is that right now, more than ever, that's what's going to help people want to keep coming back to your practice. I love Gary Vee. He talks all about how attention is the new currency. And this is an attention grabber. Oh, wait, this is different. Oh, okay. All right. Whether it be the music, whether it be the vibe, whether it be what you're doing that is different. Of course, everybody's getting braces. Like, And I remember when I first started in the industry, I remember there was a thread on like Facebook somewhere where somebody's talking about, no, all you have to do is give great quality work and then people will come. It's like, what
No.
planet are you on? Like McDonald's has a line around the corner. They're not doing it because they got great quality work.
Right,
Yeah.
Because
right.
everybody knows what to expect. It's a different experience. They know what they're going to get there. That's where
That's
you
the
are.
thing.
And so I love that you've thought about it that way. Geoff, with your ADHD and you're having to work with 80 to 70 clients, patients a day and loving that, uh, how good are you about tamping down the, ooh, we should change that feeling when it's like or not?
Not. In
Okay.
fact, it's a little embarrassing how many orthodontic assistants I have not doing orthodontic assisting. There, I have personal assistant and a
Good.
team member who sits next to me who's in charge of clinic flow, and I'm in Minneapolis. I've got a digital manager who's in Florida. And we now have a team member through Ortho VA that's in the Philippines.
Yep.
But I need to write those things down or send them somewhere else to help me delegate them and prioritize them for me, because otherwise it won't get done.
Yeah, so you've created systems though to
Yeah.
make sure that when you're having those things, instead
Mhm.
of just turning
Yeah.
left when you feel like it, you're
Yeah,
sending
that's
to
right.
your people.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really smart. And I love that you brought out the idea of having your own personal assistant and having somebody else that could be
Oh,
virtual. I am I
life-changing.
wrote my book in 2015 and I talked about as a whole chapter called Living Like a Rock Star. I don't understand why you would not have those people in your life when you, and we can go down to the very, very micro of, you don't have to get gas in your car. You don't have to, have your food delivered, especially in the world that we are today. But when it comes to being an entrepreneur and having great ideas and thoughts, having other people implement those to you. And by the way, you mentioned the mini doctor thing, like having little mini orthodontists.
Yeah.
I hear a lot from people, doctors who have patients, clients who feel like, oh, I want to see the doctor. How come I
Yeah.
want to see the doctor? They need to see me, right? Which I think is a little ego thing. But I often give this example of, Walt Disney's been dead for over 60 years, I think it is.
Totally.
And I never walk in there going like, oh, I miss Walt. Because I have all of the cast members who are invoking the Walt spirit by working at Disney, making it a magical day, happiest place on earth. That's the same thing in your office. So that you're already set up, I'm going to create mini orthodontists allows them to act a certain way and your patients to go, oh, this is just like I got treated by the doctor. Matter of fact, I'd rather see them sometimes than the doctor.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's
and
really
that starts with the initial call in the initial exam, the treatment coordinator room, them setting expectations and making sure they know exactly what they're getting before they even sign up for it. So totally agree. Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. So Liz, as you've been watching the growth of this practice, so do you work primarily behind the scenes with the messaging and all those things and then come up with ideas, say, well, what if we did this instead? Or how does that work?
Yeah, when it comes to the practice, definitely behind the scenes. I did make the mistake of one day walking by a phone that was ringing and answered it, and that was the wrong choice for everybody.
That was early.
That was very early on.
Year one.
Yeah, didn't do that again. So definitely behind the scenes, certainly from like branding, marketing, design, just like how we show up in the world, have a big voice in that. But I mean, I don't want to take away from Geoff's abilities there. Like he is very brand oriented, I guess. Like you're very good at seeing the big picture. And then I just kind of shape it the way how we want to shape it. And then when, like those Geoff's big ideas or when anyone has an idea, I kind of help guide that from a strategic point so that it feels like it's all coming from the same place and working together in synthesis. And then we do also try to have like focus areas each year. So where we can like really focus efforts on doing something good, like whether it's, sustainability or how we show up with the community or whatever it might be. And then we can kind of push that into the like Mint brand feeling and voice and tone and make sure it sort of comes through all touch points in a way that feels relevant instead of just, we never just want to like talk to something, but we actually want to be like, okay, well, what does that mean? How is that going to show up? What what really indicates success. So that's kind of the vision that I put into it.
And how much of that do you share with your team members so they're aware of that too? Like, this is what success looks like.
A lot, but it does depend on what it is, right?
Right.
So like we've done a fair amount of, this is something actually that I brought from like the advertising world, or we did like full day or half day work sessions with everyone, involved in Mint, and talked about let's say like,
we're looking at bonus systems.
Yeah, like let's make life better for employees, because the way that we approach patients is how we want to approach staff. So like what makes a good day for you? Like what happens during a day when you go home and tell your loved ones like, hey, this was great. This made me feel really good. How do you feel energized? Conversely, what happens if you're just like, ugh, on the drive home and like, oh, it's Monday. Like what makes you feel that way? And how can we change
That's really
that?
cool.
If we're talking about incentives, like what's an incentive that feels really good in the moment, and then it doesn't matter the next day when you have a cranky patient, but what's an incentive that feels good for a while and you keep thinking about it. So just kind of like keeping them in, everybody involved, remembering that every point of view is kind of valid, which is really important, I think, for you, Geoff, because it's that tunnel vision again, right? Like when you're an entrepreneur, you're treating 70 to 80 patients a day, and you just need to like keep growing and keep everyone happy. Like you can forget about all the other people that are having like whole real life experiences along with you. So I like to kind of remember the big picture, because I have that luxury. I'm not in the nitty gritty and can help do it for them.
I love that. I want to go back for a moment though, because how did you make that decision? One of the biggest challenges, I know you've heard this from other couples who work together in some ways, but one, whether it be the husband or the wife, was brought into the business early on, and it's hard for them to pull out of the business, or it causes some conflict there. How did you, like, that had to be a conscious decision that you made of, yeah, we're good in this way, but we're probably not going to be good. I don't know. How did you come to that decision? Hey, there's no reason to learn how to own your role on your own. If you like that clip, go ahead and click right here for another one. Or if you want to watch the entire podcast, go ahead and click right here. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.